know what they say, that hope is not a strategy, but it just may be the very thread on which the next breath of life hangs upon. And therefore, we must all abound in hope. And we'll bring you an abundance of that this morning. Good morning, and welcome to the Morning Brief right here on Channels Television. We're live for you, and we're bright and upbeat. Hi, guys. How have you been? It's good to be here.
Morning, welcome to the program. This is Lagos, Nigeria, the commercial nerve center of the country and our global headquarters. Just in case Bukola forgot to remind you, it's my job to bring you up to speed. We appreciate that you're joining us. It's the Morning Brief. I'm Jeffrey Uzama.
It's the Morning Brief on the day before Christmas. Good morning. Bukola, welcome back, by the way.
Thank you, Kayode. 24 hours to Christmas. And we started off from 60. I remember the day you reminded us that it was 60 days to Christmas.
I deserve some sort of award, Jeffrey. Counting down. Well, some days I didn't count down on air, but I counted down in my...
So what's going to be the highlight for counting down for you?
I think it's just the awareness, really, helping people understand that this season is not a coincidence. It's not just an ordinary season. It's an extraordinary season, actually. I know there's a tendency to look around and say, I don't feel that extraordinary feeling. I feel the Hamatan, if that's what you mean by extraordinary, Kaide. That's all I feel. I don't feel anything else. But if you look deeper within yourself, deeper into others, then I bet you'll find that extraordinary thing about Christmas this season. And yeah, that's why I'm counting down. Thank you for coming to my tech talk. What do we have on the show this morning?
Well, speaking of feeling, I feel the pain of Nigerians this morning. We've been counting down to Christmas, but we're now also counting nearly 70 persons who died over the weekend. 35 in Oyo, 22 in, I believe, Anambra, 15 in Abuja, nearly 70. And it's really sad. Some would say that, the federal government, passes really low on response to emergencies. But, it's also important to look inwards and reflect about the lessons that we have learned or not about, distribution of palliatives, organization of events. We can't forget, in a hurry how a number of young persons died during a recruitment exercise in the FCT in 2014. Just May this year, we also recall during palliatives distribution at the Nasarawa State University, 2 students died, unfortunately, as a result of a stampede. So what lessons have we learned about putting things in proper, in their proper place during events like this? Crowd management, entries and exit points, emergency response services, first aid gears. What have we learned? Apparently, we have learned very, very little about those things. So it's, uncharacteristic of Nigerians, to continue to blame government for not taking responsibility on their own part when we have not taken responsibility on our own part as well. And, there's also talk about food stamps, the need for food stamps. There's always hunger in the land. Some would even make reference to Western countries where, there are always food stamps. Well, that flies also in the face of reason because, it doesn't look good on human dignity for people to stand and collect food during palliative distribution. The economy must be made to work for everyone such that people can work for their own money and they'll feel good about having earned on their own. There's so much also to talk about. We also saw Mr. President yesterday in his very first media chat, and it's a good thing to now know that we know the thinking of Mr. President on a myriad of issues. There's a lot to weigh in on in that particular space, and we also saw the nuances, of the things that were said and unsaid. But we'll talk about that much later on the program, guys.
Absolutely. The president, you should give it to him. He's quite bold. Whether his boldness will cost him or it will not is a different kettle of fish. At the end of the day, is the Nigerians listen to him and are living under the impact of his decision that will make that final decision. in 2027, whether to give him another chance or not. Presidents are always right until an election cycle, and you get to see exactly whether they are wrong or right. So I heard him make political statement, policy statements yesterday, and I like to say again, when he said he's going to bring inflation down to 15%, it's not going to happen. You heard it, I said it. I would like to come here and say, I was wrong, I was hasty. 35 or 34 to 15%. But all I know about economics is not going to happen. But if it happens, I will be super glad. And I'll say, oh, I was wrong, and all of this. So, but we're going to talk about a lot of things he said. Guys, what exactly are we doing?
Well, let's get right into it. And of course, it's a no-brainer. After the president's maiden presidential chat, we'll be dissecting all the points he raised, all the vital points he raised, right? Especially the impact of his economic strategies on Nigeria's growth, inflation. It looks like Jeffrey has foreclosed on that issue of inflation. But hey, they say it's not just hope, it's renewed hope, right? So it's not just inflation, job creation, and a lot more.
And refusing to reduce the size of his cabinet. That one is a political statement, forget that.
Right.
Bukola, you have the next one.
Well, I'll also be talking about some of the challenges that the president, unless I missed it, didn't respond to, or maybe he wasn't asked. So we'll be assessing the power grid situation amid Nigeria's persistent power grid challenges. What are the other options that we can explore? Speaking of options, are there any potentialities in fixing power grid issues from STEM? We'll be looking into that space this morning.
It's holiday, it's December, it's the Yuletide, it's Dead Sea in Lagos. I can guarantee you that Fukade felt the pain the other day of Dead Sea December in Lagos. Holiday destinations in Nigeria, for those of you who are crowding our Lagos, we have other locations for you. Please leave Lagos alone. Batch A, Batch B, Batch C off, I just got back. We will spread the love across the country. That is what we're talking about today on the program.
No, that's a very interesting conversation, really.
Yeah, I just got back. Batch D arrived yesterday.
Batch D arrived yesterday.
They are grading themselves, literally.
Is that the last batch?
I don't know.
So everyone wants to celebrate Christmas in Lagos.
Okay,
well, not
nice.
everybody, but that's not all, guys. It's Christmas Eve, and we'll be getting insights on how to plan for today ahead of tomorrow's big day. So you're planning today ahead of tomorrow, basically. So we'll walk you through some of those things you need to pay attention to. Just 24 hours, guys, or less than 24 hours to Christmas.
And for those of you who may just decide to, lounge at home and binge on your favorite social media platform, we have some references for you on today's program. So wait to find out what it will be.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Don't forget, social media, our social media of choice is X. CTV Morning Brief is how you get to us, and we amplify your voice. Send your messages as well on WhatsApp. It will scroll any moment from now. Send messages and videos only exclusively, and will also help to amplify it. But hey, we will take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get to the core of our top stories. Afterwards, we'll get to what you've been talking about on X, and I'll start a conversation. X-raying some of the things that the president said and the state of the nation. Join us again.
And top on the brief this morning, President Bola Tinubu says he has no regrets about removing petrol subsidy in May 2023, insisting that Nigeria cannot continue to be Father Christmas to neighboring countries. Speaking during his maiden presidential media chat, the president also notes that there is no going back on the controversial tax reform his administration recently introduced, insisting that the economy cannot be revived with what he describes as the old broken book.
Absolutely. But there's more. The federal government has declared tomorrow, Wednesday, the 25th, Thursday, the 26th of December, and Wednesday, January the 1st, as public holidays to celebrate Christmas, Boxing Day, and New Year, respectively. The Minister of Interior, Dr. Olubunmi Tunji Ojo, who made the declaration in a statement signed by his Permanent Secretary, Magdalene Ajayi, Ojani extended warm greetings to all Nigerians, urging them to use the festive period to reflect on the values of love, peace, and unity that the season signifies.
Kayode, I don't see you rejoicing at that.
I'm excited.
Well, the Petroleum Products Retail Outlets Owners Association of Nigeria says Nigerians should expect a reduction in the pump price of the product within the week. Last week, the Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited and the Dangote Refinery reduced the ex-depot price of petrol to 899 naira per litre in Lagos, while the pump price of the product has not been reduced in many filling stations. President of the association, Billy Gillis-Harris, says the new cost of the commodity will take effect this week.
And outside the country, U.S. President Joe Biden has commuted the death sentences of 37 of the 40 inmates on federal death row ahead of the return to power of Donald Trump, who has indicated that he will restart federal executions. 3 men were excluded from the move. One of the 2013 Boston Marathon bombers, a gunner who murdered 11 Jewish worshippers in 2018, and a white supremacist who killed 9 black churchgoers in 2015.
And let's touch on sports very quickly. Arsenal's Bukayo Saka will be sidelined for many weeks after suffering a hamstring injury in Arsenal's 5-1 win at Crystal Palace. When asked at a press conference about the 23-year-old England international's condition, Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta said it was not looking good for Saka. Saka was filmed leaving Selhurst Park on crutches on Saturday.
Ouch. Also entertainment now. Funke Akindele's Everybody Loves Jennifer has earned, wait for it, over 511 million naira at the Nigerian box office just 12 days after its release. The film, which premiered on December the 13th, has become the fastest Nollywood movie to cross the 500 million naira mark.
Well, looks like value always follows our own dear Funke Akindele. So when you create value, money follows it.
There's another controversy that has been, brewing. A lot of them release their movies during the Yuletide, right? So you have Funke Akindele, Femi Adebayo, for example. Then Ayo Makun also released his movie, and he put out a tweet yesterday, which I will show you eventually, saying, "Na man, they do man," and he was asking people to actually come and watch his movie, and not just watch the women's movies alone, because there's Funke Akindele, there is Iyabo Ojo, I believe, a couple of ladies who released their movies during Yuletide
was the end
as
of the
well.
year.
So it's a very interesting scene right there. But let's get into what you've been saying.
But don't make it a gender thing. Everyone is supporting everyone.
So you're not sure if it's comedy he was trying to, put out, or he really meant it.
Or maybe it's just a publicity stunt.
Whatever, just go watch that movie. That's the goal for him. So let's get right into it. President Bola Tinubu held his maiden presidential media chat. There's been a lot of call for this, a lot of clamor, and just like, a thief in the night, particularly 9 p.m., we had that presidential media chat. Well, Channels Television's Mark Belgun Yusuf was right there to ask some of those hard questions. So he spoke on fuel subsidies, price control, tax reform. At some point, the president scored himself very well. Now, we had to ask the president.
Isn't it Nigerians are supposed to do that, Mr. President? And I like that very much.
Very important question there. So, what have you been saying about the president's maiden media chat? Mr. P. Osas has the first comment. Says, very good. No room to encourage lazy and parasitic governors. Time for feeding bottle federalism is coming to an end. No state shall earn from what they prohibit. So this is talking about the tax component, because the president said the tax reforms have come to stay, even though he said there will be negotiations, perhaps some give and take, but he says this has come to stay.
And I love the expression from Mr. P. Time for feeding bottle federalism should indeed be over. And I think that expression should stay somewhere very visibly in our lexicon to remind governors who are always waiting for federal allocation, to execute projects in their domain. And then you find that in that space, human capital development is not prioritized. All of the monies are spent on infrastructure development, and where, of course, you cannot rule out corruption. So feeding bottle federalism is an expression that, I embrace totally. I don't know about you.
Because the youngest state, Bukola, is over 30. So there's no point getting feeding bottles. You're over 30, come on, fend for yourselves. I'm talking about the youngest states. You have states that are way older than that, so there's no room for that. Absolutely agree with him.
And Niger Delta is the next user here who says, this is a good decision. Price control is very dangerous. The best thing to do is to focus on supply.
And this next user talks about removing subsidy. Yusuf Lowell says, should have improved provide basic needs of life to Nigerians. That's removing the fuel subsidy. But because the money is not managed properly and there was no plan, hence hardship and inflation increased and the economy is getting worse, or in these words, is even worsening.
Let's go on to the next talking point now, I believe, Kadi, and it's about the NNPCL dropping the pump price of petrol in Abuja. Of course, we told you just moments ago that the price reduction, according to Petron, will take effect in other parts of Nigeria in NNPCL filling stations. But what are you saying about the price dropping in Abuja? Abdul Fattah is the first user who says petrol price was increased in hundreds for several months, but now decreasing in tens and units. I like that.
This next user talks about something very important. It's a fear, it's a concern that we all have, particularly when you get to the filling stations. First, your eye is on the pump. Like, make sure you're starting from zero, right? But then deep down, you're like, is 1 liter really 1 liter in this filling station? And that's what this next user, Are Ojolakwe, says, no be by reduced fuel price. You can do better on your pump. Also, this speaks to standards. Do the standards agencies, the NMDPRA, the agencies that are meant to ensure that the right things are done, do they always take note of these things? Because I think for a lot of people, they don't quite get value for their money.
And, you know, it behoves on us to be very vigilant when we're buying petrol. Always ensure that you're parked right in front of, that display.
They'll tell you,
and you can see.
Move forward. We're like, nah, I'm okay here.
Okay, so who's the next user this morning? Are Ojolakwe, you've taken that.
Just took that. So
High Priest comes next, who says, what's all this nonsensical reducing 10 kobo and 5 kobo? Well, more like 10 naira. Another 10 naira.
Well, more than 10 naira, or actually tens of naira.
Tens of naira. Yeah. Well, a few that was jacked up by 1,000 naira. Well, no, not necessarily. Gradually from about 200 naira in May last year to 500 naira, and then it kept going up 700,
1,000,
800, and 1,000. All right, you have the next one.
Olufash says, when this government wants to increase fuel price, it always does on the high side. So I think there's a generality, or there's a consistency in the responses we have this morning. But decrease is always insignificant, i.e. between 20 to 50 naira. This user says this government should wake up. They've said that whatever goes up does not come down in this part of the world, but we've seen it coming down, not as fast as people want it to come down. But really, let's talk about this and let us know what you think. You can message us on WhatsApp or #CTV Morning Brief. What is the goal for you as a Nigerian? What do you want the price of petrol per liter to be? Now, don't give me 100 naira per liter. Let's try to be as realistic as possible. What is the goal for you? And I think this might help the conversation. So send your messages to WhatsApp. You see the number on your screens, and then #CTV Morning Brief. Bukola.
And it's important to also talk about the need for the prices to stay down. And a lot can be said about, what's happening in the oil sector right now. Are we still importing? We now have an abundance of the product. I believe that's why there's competition and prices are going down. But in 2025, what will petrol production look like? Will we still be importing? Is Port Harcourt refinery, now stable to the extent that production is going on uninterrupted? What is going to happen to Warri and Kaduna refinery? It's important, to have all of those questions answered by the NNPCL.
I think we can just keep the public holiday conversation, because we already know federal government has declared public holiday. Yes, a lot of people are excited about it. So can we move on to another trend and just keep that, because, hey, not everybody gets it. But just in case you didn't know, tomorrow, Thursday, and next week, that's January the 1st, have been declared public holidays for the Christmas, Boxing Day, and New Year's celebration. So skip
Skip.
I'm not an enemy of progress, okay? It was just a given.
Well, Kanye is just trying to protest subtly because it's going to be here on all of those days.
No, it's just what it is. This next one is from Petra, and it's again saying that the reduction in petrol price will reflect within the week, and it's something we've reiterated. But Bukola,
Raymond speaks first this morning.
Okay, look, I just take Raymond, but I wanted us to jump to the fire incident.
Okay.
That we saw, the very terrible one we saw in Ibadan, affecting a petrol station as well. You know, someone was live streaming and she was screaming, "Please help us! We need help!" In the Olode area. So we can start with Manik. Has the first comment on that fire that burned the petrol station in Ibadan, Bovas petrol station, I should say. And that's a petrol station a lot of people have fallen in love with because of their prices, always reduced prices. Manik says, why does it have to be that bad? The petrol station should have measures in place to prevent fire incidents like this. But this user thinks that they had none. Says it's very possible they had just one or two fire extinguishers. It's important to get your facts right, Manik. But I understand that emotions are high, but it's fire. It's a very flammable product. So this
and not
is
to talk of the fire happening in a petrol station, but
during Hamatan,
all of the details.
Absolutely.
And we should also have structures in place that will ensure our preparedness at this point in time.
Definitely.
It's Hamatan, and ignorance is never an excuse.
Certainly.
But I hope that we don't have all the details, but I hope earnestly that lives were not lost, and neither were there any injuries from this incident. But Greg speaks next this morning and says, bad timing. I hope the business is insured.
Oh, very important. And I think this is something we should always talk about, insurance. So this is a heads up for homes, offices, small businesses. Get the list, the fire extinguisher. You can get the small one and make sure you service this from time to time. Do not take these things for granted. And Shine Bright is just praying that, praise everyone in that area are in good condition. Well, so far, we've not heard any sort of casualty, but we'll keep following that particular one. Yes.
This next one is interesting, Kayode, and I'm sure it's something that you will like. A Nigerian renowned medical doctor has led the team that developed the world's first ever potent cancer vaccine in Russia.
Yeah, Nigeria don't carry last.
Great news. Yeah, absolutely. And Dari Oluwajuiton is his first user, who says his name is Olalekan Samuel Akinyemi for those interested. So Nigerians have gone to dig him out and find out his details. Dari goes on to say congratulations to him again, just to show how good environments bring out the best in people.
Okay, this next user is Uncle Wealth. Says it needs to be protected at all costs. Other successful medical researchers, in this area died mysteriously. Are there? Okay, it says that big pharma.
Pharmaceutical companies.
We're not happy with their solutions. So there's a lot of conspiracy around this as well. Yes, if you have the facts, absolutely bring them out, but not to push the conspiracies over the facts and data. But absolutely, it needs to be protected at all costs.
At all costs.
Yeah.
So let's go to the next user. Emmanuel Johnson says, God bless you, doctor. More grace and more open doors for you to do more for humanity. I wish our politicians would make Nigeria a better place for our young men and women to thrive in their different professions, for Nigeria to move forward. And for me, that's at the heart of the conversation. It just goes to show that Nigerians have got great potential. They do well when they acquire the skill, but are they in environments where their talent can be encouraged? And Nigerians are doing amazing things also in other climes, and we can mention quite a few. So this is a sign that there are systemic challenges back home that do not encourage these kinds of talents, to find expression.
A lot to chew on, definitely. So keep your comments coming in, #CTV Morning Brief, or on WhatsApp right away. But we're getting started with a presidential media chat. Lots of talking points, guys. So just take a breather, grab your coffee, tea, ogi, whatever works for you, and let's get into this conversation.
We'll be right back.
welcome back. Let's get to that very first conversation. It's a potpourri of issues. The president had a conversation with journalists yesterday in his very first media chat. As Kayode said, it's like a thief in the night. We just woke up to find out that, the president is going to be speaking. And of course, it was a recorded session with these journalists across board. Mark Yusuf was there to ask her questions as well. And there were a couple of things that were raised by the people in the panel. And the president was quite bold in his assertions and all of that, and his position. But let's get the view of some experts in different areas as far as that conversation is concerned, because we're living in the reality of all the decisions of the president and his team. We've been joined on the program by a security risk management consultant and the MD of Beacon Security and Intelligence Limited, Dr. Kabir Adamu. Also joining us is CEO of Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprises, joining us via Zoom as well, Dr. Muda Yusuf, as well as Data and Policy Analyst of Next Year, Mr. Samuel Oluwajobi. He joins us via Zoom. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on the program. All right, let me start with you, Ms. Adamu, on some of the remarks, some of the things that the president had said. I don't know where you want to pick up the conversation from, but in wherever you want to pick it up from, let me add to that to say that when he was asked about the big spending in our security and defense and whether or not he's going to probe other service chiefs, he said, there's no point. He's not going to do that. He's not going to disrespect that institution. And by his books, they are doing well. What's your response?
I apologize profusely, but we must take a break now. When we return, we'll have better audio quality. Network, we're having challenges with the network right now. We must fix them. So let's take a break now. We'll be back shortly. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Morning Brief on Channels Television. Of course, we already started off the discussion reflecting on some of the president's responses during his inaugural media chat yesterday. And we have a complete panel. And just before the break, Dr. Muda Yusuf was reflecting on the president's convictions about a market-driven economy. Go ahead, Dr. Yusuf.
Yes, the president alluded to the benefits of those reforms, which are largely market driven in terms of economic management. Of course, he also alluded to some of specific achievements, which is about the fuel price, which is beginning to drop. He attributed that to the fact that we are talking about the market and the fact that that has, led to the eradication of corruption in the petroleum industry, particularly in the petroleum downstream industry. That is the removal of subsidy and paving the way for a market-driven economy. Well, that is to a large extent, that is correct. But the point to make is that there is no economic management model that is perfect. That is why in economics we talk about market failure. So there will always be room for intervention in the market. We cannot leave the economy entirely, to market forces. That is why we see, for instance, from time to time, the central bank now intervenes in the foreign exchange market to moderate prices anytime the prices are going completely out of hand. But we are beginning to see the downside of the market, for instance, in the financial market. Look at what the interest rate is. Interest rate at 34%, 35%. These are some of the downsides of a free market system. Unless we have substantial intervention, for instance, in those financial markets to moderate interest rates, especially through the through the development finance institution and other measures, which even the administration has been doing, giving funds to SMEs and all of that at a subsidized interest rates. That is marketing, that is intervention. That's a reflection of some elements of market failure. So in economics and economic management, I think it's something that is very critical to recognize the need for market failure. That is why there are subsidies in some critical sectors of the economy. Even in the advanced economy, which are seen as a model of market economy, there's always intervention. So there is no model that is absolute. I think we need to recognize the fact that there will always be need, to intervene in the market when the market situation is getting completely out of hand, so that the citizens don't suffer. And of course, the president also talked about the tax bill. Initially, it sounded as if it was a fait accompli when he said it has come to stay. But when he was further interrogated or further asked, he now said there is room for compromise. I think that also gives some kind of relief, because we saw the kind of the kind of contention and the contentious nature of the tax bill and the polarization in the economy. So the fact that he initially said it has come to stay, I think that could have created some other impression. But later, on further interrogation, he admitted that there was need for some compromise. So for me, I think that is something that is positive.
All right.
Among others.
Dr. Yusuf, you've noted a very important point. There were things that were said, and there were things that were not said, but they were loud as well. And I'll take this to Samuel Oluwajobi. From the presidential media chat, the president's responses to questions, particularly some of the pain points of Nigerians, did you get a sense that the president is on the right track? Did you get some sort of motivation? As I said, a lot of things were said, some things were not said, right? So what kind of feeling did you get from that chat, president's responses? Did you get the sense that, the president, for example, has a good team giving him advice, his decisions or his government's decisions, do they seem data-backed? Did you leave that chat with some sort of confidence or otherwise?
Yes, I did. I did leave the chat with some form of confidence regarding the security aspects of what he said. He mentioned about the counter-insurgency measures in northern Nigeria, which has been over the years the bed of atrocities and terrorism. He also mentioned about the combating kidnapping, which has been on the rise since the beginning of the year, and has also translated into people going into crowdfundings, people using social media to crowdfund for ransom. And also, even at the beginning of the year, he also stated that his government will not be paying ransom for release of any kidnapped victim. And so far, he has stuck to his words, and so far, according to our track data in next year, we have realized that there has been decrease in incidents from last year up to this year, which attests to the fact that he's really doing a good job in security aspects of his governance. And also, he also mentioned about strengthening the armed forces with modernized equipment. Over the years, the challenges have been that the equipment, the guns that our military men have been armed with are substandard compared to those of the terrorists. But he has assured that there will be strengthening and they'll purchase more modernized equipment for the armed forces. And also, he also buttressed the fact that there will be collaborations between regional and international parties to improve the security conditions in Nigeria. So based on those things, I said, I believe President is on the right track concerning the security to restore public trust and also improve security in Nigeria.
All right, Dr. Kabir, let's come back to you. We understand that when you were giving your submission, we did not hear what you were saying. At least the audience did not get a feel of what you talked about. Maybe you can reiterate and maybe add some things to it as well.
Thank you. I made the point around the importance of accountability. I made the point that if you look at the 2025 proposed budget, security sector has the single largest allocation of about 4 trillion naira, more than any other single sector, more than health, more than infrastructure, more than education. And so when you have a single sector like that with such huge allocation, and this has been the pattern over the last few years where security has enjoyed the highest single allocation. And without accountability in that sector, then it gives room for a lot of concern. I also made the point that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has institutionalized Executive Order 13, which is an instrument for performance measurement. He also signed a performance bond with his ministers, including the security sector ministers. And so we're hoping that his statement regarding, he's not going to prop his ministers, but that he has introduced measures to reduce corruption within the sector will be followed through with the implementation of that performance measurement standard. In other words, strengthen the M&E monitoring and evaluation component within the security sector so that these huge sums of money that has been pledged for security would actually result in real terms to an improvement in security. No doubt, if you go to locations like Katsina, Zamfara, parts of Sokoto, Kaduna, Niger, and several other parts of Nigeria, they are still being challenged by insecurity. And so they are hoping to see an improvement. And some of the measures that have been outlined, including in the presidential chart, are very good measures. But when people on the ground cannot relate to them, cannot feel them, then there is room for improvement. And one of the best things that can help in that regard is improving accountability. The various elements for enhancing M&E. As an example, almost all ministries, especially security sector ministries, have departments for statistics, and they call them PRS. Now, those departments, if you engage with them, you find out that their capacity is extremely low. So perhaps one of the best things we can do is to train them better, give them the tools that is required for enhancing monitoring and evaluation within the security sector. The other aspect is the role of the National Assembly in this regard. Let's remember that the budget is submitted to them. They are the ones that will go through the budget. They will engage with the ministries. So we also hope to see an enhancement in their capacity for oversight, so that at the end of the day, we see real-term improvement, not improvement, that is just stated, where in the middle of the controversy regarding the released survey by MBS, which indicates, unfortunately, that there is an increase, as it were, in both fatalities and abduction and the issuance of ransom. And let's not forget that the government's position on ransom is very clear. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu did write an op-ed in the Times magazine. His national security advisor did also state categorically that ransoms are banned. Nobody should pay ransom. But then we now have a statement from a government department. So all of these are areas of accountability that we're hoping to see an improvement in the coming months and the coming year.
I will stay with you because this was your first submission. So let me stay with you on the issue of security. By experience of the Nigerian citizens and also submissions of successor president, it appears that things are left worse off because they come and say, oh, this other man did not do as much as we're thinking. We met this, we met that. The situation is so terrible. We have to fix and all of that. In assessing improvement in security, at least for now, the level or the number of recorded attacks have actually reduced, reported from what we see. But you are the expert. You can tell us otherwise if there is any. But you juxtapose that with what you said about the 2.2 trillion in ransom paid in just a space of 1 year between May last year and April this year. So how do you assess success? Is it by reduction in frequency of attack or fatalities recorded? How do you record success? Because I'm sure there's a template for recording security success.
Well, it depends on the methodology you want to use. We use the intelligence methodology. In other words, we collect information, we collate that information, we analyze that information, and then we produce, some form of products from that. That's a simple terminology in intelligence. It's a cycle that has 6 phases. So in measuring success using that intelligence, you use metrics. And I've heard the earlier statement by my co-discussant from next year. Our data set says differently. As at the month of November, we had recorded over 12,000 deaths in Nigeria based on the data set that we have. Now, what we recorded last year was 10,000. And so if you use just on the basis of that, it means, unfortunately, we have seen an increase in terms of fatalities. Now, in terms of abduction, we're at about 5,000 per year. What we saw last year was around 4,000. And so that, too, again, is an increase. We're also seeing variances in terms of the dislocation of these metrics. So in the Northeast, which used to be the hotbed or the hotspot, as it were, of most of these occurrences, we're seeing a dislocation now. The current hotbed is the Northwest of the country, and specifically states like Katsina and Zamfara, where we're seeing more attacks and the ferocity of the methodology, especially by bandit groups. So if you stick specifically to metrics, unfortunately, we're not seeing an improvement. And this data that I've just mentioned is collaborated by ACLED. ACLED is probably the most internationally respected and relied upon platform for recording incidents like that. A lot of what we report is corroborated by this. This is in no way to say we do not recognize the effort by the Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration. It has come up with novel ideas, including strengthening our security forces, not just defense, but other security forces. It has also introduced technology. Not too long ago, the Ministry of Interior launched an intelligence platform that is of world standard. The Ministry of Defense has also done the same thing. The Police Affairs has done the same thing. But the major gap is the inability to transcend from that federal composition to the state or subnational composition. In other words, ensure that the state government also key into these policies by the federal government. Because remember, most of these occurrences happen at the state level. Now, where you don't see a harmonized approach at the moment, in the Northwest, which is, like I mentioned, the hotbed of security occurrences, all the governors sort of have a different view and approach on security. If you speak to the governor of Kaduna, he believes in an aspect of negotiation. But the governor of Zamfara and governor of Katsina will tell you clearly that I'm not going to negotiate with bandits, with terrorists. And they have their reasons for doing that. So at what point are we going to have all of these governors seated together so that we see a coordinated approach? The second gap is the inability to address the root causes of insecurity. These root causes, I'll quickly mention them: poverty and unemployment, inequality, education deficits, corruption, ethno-religious tensions, land resource competition or land governance, and then the issues around urbanization, as well as the environmental climate change issues. We're not, in a very pragmatic manner, addressing these root causes. We are concentrating more on the kinetic component, in other words, the military force, the police, and the others, without necessarily investing so much. The experts...
Dr. Adamo, indeed, we keep talking about that gaping lack of cohesion at the subnational level in the fight against insecurity, particularly in the Northwest, and we wonder, for how long we'll continue to talk about it. But it's interesting also how all of these issues are interconnected in one way or the other, the economy and security. And that's why I'm going to return to the economy. I'm coming to you now, Dr. Yusuf. The president's logic when it comes to the removal of fuel subsidy, I want us to, chew on it a bit. The president said he doesn't regret removing subsidy and that, we're mortgaging our future. While that seems, convincing on the surface, Nigerians would ask, where are the savings on subsidy removal? And if indeed it was, a channel for siphoning our collective commonwealth in the past, why haven't we seen prosecutions of those who, were profiting from, fuel subsidy? And how convincing also is it that the naira for crude policy of the administration is somewhat partly responsible for, the gradual reduction of the pump price of petrol that we're seeing now? Isn't it rather, a result of the abundance of the product that we're witnessing now? And for how long really are we going to see this reduction, and will it stay that way? Dr. Yusuf.
Well, first of all, I think the president, alluded to some of the benefits of the removal of subsidy. Of course, he said he has no regrets about it. But one thing that I thought was missing was the acknowledgement of the fact that it has brought a lot of challenges, pains, and all of that to many Nigerians. Although in his past speeches, he has always amplified that he felt the pains of Nigerians, that this was necessary and all of that. So, but in this particular one, well, of course, he was expressing his conviction of the need for the subsidy removal. He alluded to all the corruption and all of that. But the aspect of it, which I was waiting to hear, was that empathy to say that, well, it's unfortunate that this has brought this kind of pain, and we are doing something about it. Just as I said, in his past speeches, he has always amplified that point. But that aspect of it was not sufficiently amplified yesterday. In terms of, what we are seeing now, in terms of the benefits of it, in terms of the revenue, he also talked about the fact that the states and local governments now have more revenue, to live for their projects. Well, we have seen some impact in some states. We have seen a few impacts here and there. But again, that impact has not been sufficient, has not actually been reflecting in the improvement in the lives of many Nigerians. So I think that connection needs to be further strengthened, that, okay, we have made this amount, we have made these gains, these are the direct benefits to you. Just as I said, I've seen some states, they have bought buses and all of that. The president too has done something about the CNG buses. They were launching, the administration launched some CNG buses, but I also feel that all these things haven't gone far enough, to justify the fact that we now have more revenue. So there's, I think, still a lot to be done to demonstrate the fact that this is what we have gained and these are the benefit. But just as I said, we have seen the impact of that on revenue of revenue, to states, local government, and federal government. But we need to see a corresponding impact, on the citizens. So I agree with you. There's still a lot to be done, to demonstrate the impact of those gains on the. But the point is that we are beginning to see an improvement in terms of reduction in prices of petroleum crude oils. And I read a report from the Dangote Industries, which was also alluding to the fact that these are some of the benefits of the Naira for crude, intervention by the government. I'm talking about this reduction. That was also acknowledged by the Dangote industry, that what we are witnessing is also a reflection of the Naira for crude that the administration had put in place. I think it has had some benefits in a way. But the issue is that, okay, we need to watch out for how sustainable this will be. And this will be a function of some other factors as well. The cost of crude and how readily the NNPC is able to make crude available to the Dangote refinery, and how much supply will they be able to make available to that refinery. So these are issues of sustainability, which we will have to see what the future holds.
All right, there's a lot to chew on, and we hope that the solutions being put in place would yield the necessary result. But we'll continue to interrogate the process, the policies of government, piggyback on the remarks of the president. I must thank you, gentlemen, for coming on the program. Dr. Kabir Adamu is a security risk management consultant. Dr. Muda Yusuf is CEO, Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprises, and Mr. Samuel Oluwajobi is a data and policy analyst from Nextia. Thank you so much for your insight and your submission. Thank you. We'll take a quick break now. When we come back, we'll move to the next leg of the conversation. Join us again.
Well, the president talked about quite a number of things in his maiden media chat yesterday, and energy, of course, featured largely in that conversation. Talk about subsidy removal, the impact of that, how, well, that has translated into other issues. But this morning, we're taking a look, or taking a step back. We just want to talk about innovations, really, because that's where the world is right now. You can't keep doing the same things and expect a different result. They say that is really insanity. So what are some of the innovations that we could key into as a nation, such that we don't keep having a headache about energy, which, by the way, we have in abundance? We're joined on the program this morning by someone who's leading in that light when it comes to innovation in the energy sector. Dr. Enioko is a senior lecturer, School of Engineering, Newcastle University, and winner of the NLNG Science Prize. You're welcome to the Morning Brief, Dr. Oko.
Welcome. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Your project, the project you worked on with your colleagues, let me see if I can get the title right. It's basically about repurposing CO2. So when you have emissions from factories, they come out, they're meant to pollute the atmosphere, ruin the environment. But you've come up with some sort of innovation that repurposes the CO2, and you can then use that to mix it with hydrogen, if I'm correct, if my chemistry classes still sound. Do some hydrogen mixing, and then you get that back into methanol, which you can use to blend other material. Just speak to us about the kind of innovation that you have worked on and how that is applicable to Nigeria. I know you talked about how it can save us millions of dollars. So maybe, just maybe, the government is not looking into this. So I'd like you to walk us through this morning, Dr. Oko.
Yeah, thank you so much. The innovation that we had for the NLNG prize is actually looking at capturing CO2 from emission sources, and as you rightly observed, and converting CO2 to methanol, which could be used as a feedstock for fuel blending. The main thing in our innovation is actually integrating so many things. I don't want to sound too technical, but essentially integrating two important processes, which is electrochemical water splitting and also CO2 stripping from solvent. So our system integrated these two processes into one unit, what we refer to as process intensification. The point of that is that it will help drive costs down for this type of technology, making it more attractive for commercial implementation. So for Nigeria, exactly, it's of course comes very handy because energy crisis is something that has been with us for a while, and this could help address that problem. And more importantly, it could also help homegrown energy production, helping us rely less on imported energy, etc.
So, Mr. Oko, beyond you winning this NLNG prize for science, what can be done to galvanize the innovation that you bring to the table such that households can benefit from it and, have alternative power solutions beyond connections to the ever-failing power grid? And this question is important because we just talked about a young Nigerian who has led the research for a cancer vaccine in Russia, and Nigerians are reacting to that development, relating it to, the lack of an ideal environment back home to encourage such expressions to thrive. So how long are we going to wait before Russia or the West, comes to harvest you from Nigeria and takes advantage of what you have done?
In terms of how long how long that will wait before this could become commercially available. It's a development that is in progress as we speak. Some aspects of it are already being taken up by some companies that we currently collaborate with here in the UK. And some aspects of it are still at very early stage research. Research is not something that you could completely predict the final outcome, but we could see that the end is quite promising. In terms of how we can really pull Nigerians together, it's really about collaborating with industries, getting government support, and of course, more importantly, working with universities. From our end, we are leading the way in that because we have a European Union grant that is led by myself, and we have 2 Nigerian organizations that are collaborating with us on that project. That project is a 5-year project, and the expectation is that by the end of that 5-year window, we could actually get to the point where this technology can progress to market readiness.
So if you were to make recommendation in terms of policy direction for the government to support some of these ideas, these innovative ideas, that is quite crucial for things like power, because we've always said that no matter how innovative the government wants to be, no matter the big plan, without power at the backbone, it is not going to be as effective and as efficient as everyone would anticipate it to be. So in terms of policy, are you seeing the policy that supports some of these ideas? And if there are none or not sufficient, what other would you want to see?
Like many experienced people that talk on policy will always say, Nigeria is not entirely short on policy. That's what I think. Nigeria is not entirely short on policy. I think where we are incredibly lacking is the implementation of this policy, or just having the sort of environment that we make these policies work and deliver the sort of impact that we expect that they will deliver. So just talking about the power outages and the grid failures and the rest of them, all of you, I'm sure, are aware of all the various government policies that have come on in the last 10 years, for instance, and most of these policies are all, moving towards helping us have a more stable electricity grid. But it looks like the electricity grid collapse has gotten worse in the past 1 year, thereabout. The past 1 year we have had. In 2024, we've had on average of 1 collapse per month. So when you look at that, you see that most of the policies that government had come up with, which could have helped, which could have contributed in addressing some of these problems, have not really been taken up as you would expect. So an example is the feed-in tariff system. The feed-in tariff system came on, I think, under President Buhari's government in 2016. And I don't think that is quite in operation. The feed-in tariff system just allows small energy producing companies from renewable sources, for instance, to be able to feed in their energy into the grid without going through the traditional bidding process that more bigger companies go through. But that isn't something that people are taking up, and you would wonder: is it that there is no strong business case for this, or is it that the government is not providing the sort of support that is required to get this system to work? But yeah, that's where we are. The policy gaps are quite there. In terms of the grid, we need more investments in energy storage, grid scale energy storage technologies. that could help provide some resilience within our electricity grid, provide sufficient redundancy that can help the electricity grid to respond to shortfalls in supply. Yeah.
All right. They always say that problems are just opportunities for innovations, opportunities for ideas, people to thrive. So problems are not bad in themselves. It's just some sort of, environment, perfect environment for the right person to, just solve the issues. But I like to still do some comparison or just speak pointedly to the issues because we see these things happen in other climes. I mean, you, for example, in the climb you're in, you see how the system operates, how the system is able to maybe innovate and ensure that it's efficient and it's, optimized from time to time. So when you come back to our own climb, is it a challenge of first the cost? Because technology is expensive, right? So all of this technology we're talking about, even your own project is quite expensive to bring to fruition. So is it in terms of cost? By the time you convert the naira to the dollar or the pounds, you realize that, you need a lot more to be able to secure the technology or to foster that kind of environment where innovation is just second nature on the one hand. Is it as a result of the bottlenecks, secondly? And the most important point is, from what you've seen of this government in the past 1+ years, is this government welcoming enough for those sorts of innovations such that you can say, well, I want to come back home and establish these things, these innovations I have built. I want to come back home and ensure that it is really, imbibed into our sectors. Is that something that you're seeing from this government?
Before I talk about the government, there are in Nigeria, the smart grid, for instance, is a very interesting innovation which has been embraced in the West as a way of ensuring that you have a resilient electricity grid. Because believe me, electricity grid everywhere in the world are subject to collapse. So to avoid that, the operators need to be very intentional about that. And smart grid system is just one of such response. In the case of Nigeria, where we now have the potential to collect data, because smart grid is just a data-based kind of planning system. Database planning and management and grid management system, where you collect data from end users and data from the producers, etc. In Nigeria, for instance, we have the prepaid meter, which could potentially generate some of this live data, but that is only available to a very small proportion of electricity users across Nigeria. So even if the system operator in Nigeria is doing their best, they've launched SCADA system that is helping them collect data, but that is still going to be very limited. My recommendation is that they could use historical data and build intelligent models, and these intelligent models can then help them understand all the failure scenarios, help them understand how the various factors that contribute to the failure scenarios, come together. And this could help in redesigning the grid and, helping build some resilience into the grid, etc. Then, as for the government, I think the current administration, President Tinubu's administration, have been very big on reform, and reform that has been across board, reforms that are to the point that they become a pain sort of to Nigeria. But big reforms are always going to be a pain. It doesn't matter who leads it. Whoever sets out to bring about big reforms anywhere in the world, it was always going to come with lots of pains. But the reforms in themselves, hoping that everything is being pursued in good faith, for me is an indication that the government have interest in bringing about change, in helping us move away from what used to be the scenario in the past. So my assessment will be is that they are very much ready for business, as we can see, and the government appears to have a lot of support for particularly the electricity sector, for instance, with the removal of the electricity subsidy and several other changes that have taken place in the sector. So that could drive real change. That could help, improve the business case for investors. Yeah.
Well, it's good you say that. I know that there are those who may disagree with you on that point, but I think the big picture should be, hey, for all the Nigerians doing great things out there, let's have those great things happen here as well. And I really hope that the government is sensitive enough and wise enough to ensure that there's a thriving environment for all of them. Thank you for the great work you do. Look forward to even greater things. I will be speaking with Dr. Enioko, winner of NLNG Science Prize, Senior Lecturer, School of Engineering, Newcastle University. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
We'll take a moment now, and when we return, we call it Dirty December in Lagos, but there are other fun spots that you can visit. So right now, or in the next few seconds, we'll open your eyes to them. So stay with us.
Welcome back. And so if there's one thing that the president said yesterday that is a constant, nothing bad that has happened must impact on our happiness. So we must, move on and celebrate. And that's a fact. And for us here, we've been keeping tabs on the batches arriving Lagos for the celebration of dirty, or if you like, dirty December. So we're going to give you cues on where particularly to celebrate for this segment besides Lagos. So is Lagos the route to other fun spots for celebration with family and friends? Joining us to have this conversation this morning is Mr. Dayo Olujekun. He's the DGM of Director General of Ikogosi Hospitality. Good morning and welcome to the Morning Brief. Did I get your designation correctly?
Not quite, thank you. Not quite. It's Dayo Olujekun, DGM, Glossient Hospitality Limited, which are the concessionaires of Ikogosi Once Ring Resort.
And we're going to have that conversation, concessionaire arrangement.
Yes.
But, let's look at it from an aerial perspective, first of all. It's a good thing, that it appears as if, Nigeria is the entry port for so many people who want to come celebrate back home in the country. So from an aerial perspective, what are the fun spots, that are attractive for celebration this season?
Oh. Well, I would say, first of all, Ikogosi One String Resort is a place to be.
That's like 1 to 20.
So yeah, that's the first place you should consider. Outside of Lagos, and I think there are some other places in the north and maybe in the east that people should look at for this type of season. There are different resorts and different destinations that people can check out, even within the south itself. Apart from Ekiti as a state that has a lot of attraction on its own, over 25 of them that we don't know, can be visited. And of course, we have places like Abeokuta, with the Olumorok, and you have Ibadan, with the zoo and everything there. And of course, Ondo State has Idari Hill. So, yeah. There are other places people can go to.
Are there no places in the south? I see you're just hovering around the southwest. Is it your catchment area? So you're just geolocating your business. So maybe take us outside to the south.
Take us to the
south. Take us to the southeast.
The northeast and northwest.
I think there's only called Oble. I don't know what that means. The southeasterners, they like to go home during this December.
Yeah,
remember?
Right.
So walk us through.
Well, naturally, he will stick to The
Southwest.
Right? Naturally, that is his own business.
No. Let's give him the opportunity. Are there other places?
I'm familiar with, there are places in Enugu. There are places that, of course, you have Calabar there that you can still go to.
The Carnival.
The Carnival is there that you can go to, and where else do you have there? Apart from the Carnival itself, there are other places within the Calabar, that you can go, even if we say the Obudu Ranch is not as it should be right now, but you can still do some nice things in there, I guess.
So I'm wondering, for some of these locations you've mentioned, besides the greenery and the scenery, if you will, because we've had, this I just got back people, they've been stressing us. So we want to decentralize them. Batch D just arrived yesterday.
Oh, wow.
They grade themselves.
Yeah.
And they are turning up Lagos literally every night. And so my colleague suffered traffic the other day. It's a combo of what the president did and what I just got back did. So it's almost a crisis situation. There's a reason people come to Lagos.
Yeah.
How exciting is it outside Lagos? Because that excitement is going to be a driver.
All right, so I'm going to share my own experience. We arrived Ekiti State in 2022 to redevelop Ikogosi Warm Spring Resort. And I tell you, that Christmas of that year, 2022, we didn't believe we could have that much, fun. Even way far away in Ekiti State, in Ikogosi town. And what we did with my team was be able to bring that place up to speed, to a living condition by the time it was the 25th of December. And one significant thing that I would say that we experienced was experiencing Germany all the way in Ekiti, because the weather was so cold. We had to wear really padded gear, and we had Tunde Kilani come in and show his films throughout the entire period for 1 week. So we're watching all those classic movies in the amphitheater around in there, and we had dinner under the stars. We had so many activities that people engaged in that were part of it that day, and we've continued the tradition since then, 2022, 2023, and we're going to do it 2024. So people are going to be in the resort in the Ekiti area, in the Ikogosi, and they're going to have so much fun because there's so many activities, and it's so removed from the hustle and bustle of Lagos State because everything's congested here. But when you get there, you find out that air is different actually in Nigeria.
Fair enough, really, because the air is very important, and I think that's one of the selling points. Some people come from nation's capital, Abuja, to Lagos, and they tell you, you guys should come to Abuja, the air, the greenery, and all of that. Yeah. But this naturally comes with its challenges. First, are you booked for this period? Are you fully booked?
Definitely. We are fully booked.
So there's money in this country?
There is. I'm telling you. So since 2022, December, that we arrived at Ikogosi Warm Springs and made it a place for people to go. And of course, I must mention that since then, we've won the best holiday resort in Nigeria 2 years in a row. It's now become place where people go all the time, and we are fully booked for the holiday. If you're going to get a room right now, maybe some few days in between the holidays.
Fully booked.
I'm telling you.
So this will come as a surprise because we keep talking about economic hardship, we talk about inflation, we talk about all these indicators, and yet you say you're fully booked.
Where did they get the money?
Where did they get the money? So give us a sense of the class of people who are your biggest patrons, for this time of the season and other times when you're also fully booked.
So for this period, it's mainly families. So we have a lot of families come by since they've discovered that they could do this. And talking about the economy and the inflation and everything, everybody is beginning to understand that, okay, rather than take that money and try to convert it and it becomes very trickle changes, let me just use this and stay in Nigeria. And a place like Ikogosi Warm Spring Resort and Conference Center is a place that you could spend that money and get value for it. So we have families come by during this period.
Are they people from the corridors of power, those who work in Abuja, Villa?
No. Regular families are coming in. Private, solo travelers are coming in individuals are coming in, couples are coming in during this time, and they are staying. I mean, and every other time during the year, it's either the fun seekers, the tourists that come around, because we have things like hiking, we have camping, and of course, we shouldn't forget, it's the only source of cold and warm springs in the world. So that attraction itself, it's something to behold. So yeah, those are the kind of, we have regular people coming.
So these Dirty December departments, have they also found their way to your area?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've had a lot of requests coming from, the overseas, saying, coming by and all that. And surprisingly, even some people, when they land in Lagos, discover that this is a place that they could go to. Yeah, make their way down there.
Has the economy affected your business in any way? I know that this is a boom season. I remember I was watching an interview of one of the big hotels, one of the managers of the big hotels in Lagos, saying that their room used to be 400 and something thousand naira per night, and now it's about 680, almost 700,000. And since October, they've been fully booked. The anchor didn't know when they say, in this economy. So that is the reality we live in. So, but as hospitality business, has the economy affected you in any way? And how have you been able to navigate?
Yeah, I mean, naturally, anyone that says the economy hasn't affected them will be lying, because what you're buying fuel before is not what you're buying it now. And one of our own resources is, making sure that there's 24 hours electricity. So if you can't do that without diesel. So we've had challenges with trying to make sure that we keep our standard without with 24 hours electricity. So we're spending more on that. Of course, we've had to increase our room rates, but considerably. People still afford. They see value. I think the problem is when people don't see the value. But if you see the value for your money, then there won't be a problem. So people still come in because they get value.
So you're making profit?
Yes, we are making profit.
Okay. So now let's talk about okay, go ahead, Gary.
Sorry, I can't help it, because Jeffrey talked about the South, and one of the biggest, what is meant to be the biggest tourist attraction in that area, the Obudu cattle ranch and all of that. I don't know if as your company, you look at Obudu and you think, what could be with this Obudu? If only we could just get our hands on it. But you have people go to Obudu from time to time to tell you there isn't power. You literally have to fend for yourself. The kind of food they get. Yeah. Forget the cable cars. They're just parked there. It's like, they're just there as a monument. So do you see those opportunities and you think this is what we could do with it? Is that something you've probably discussed in your boardrooms? Because there are lots of opportunities like this across the country that could earn us good forex.
Yeah. You're very right, and thank you for that question. And I must say now, so Gloucester Hospitality Limited belongs to a group of company called Cavista Holdings. So we have Cavista Holdings, which is like the holding company that is interested in, invested in agriculture, IT, fintech, and of course hospitality. So your point is, aligns with our vision to make sure that we look at, especially in Gloucester Hospitality, look at hospitality properties that are failing and see if we can, take that over and run and, make it effective and efficient, like Ikogo's Warm Spring Resort now, which used to be home to lizard and pest, and is now home to a lot of people, especially at this time of the year. So yeah, that's something that we're looking at.
We can look forward to that.
Yeah. Even around Africa. So Cavista Holdings is investing around Nigeria and Africa as well.
Because there's a lot going on, for instance, in Calabar. There are three things I know for a fact. I live there, school there. So there's the Obudu cattle ranch, there's the Tinapa people don't talk about anymore. Right. Which was supposed to be like the Dubai, kind of. It's supposed to be.
Film village, yes.
And what do you call it now? The carnival.
The carnival.
That used to be like for 31 or 32 days.
Yes.
I think that was, I went to watch Lucky Dube. That was where actually, if I never knew Nigerian music has transcended, it was in Calabar, I realized that then we've made it in Nigeria. Because I was at the stadium watching when, what's his twin brother?
The P Square.
P Square. an international star had come the day before the stadium was not full. The day I'm telling you, an international star came, the stadium was not full. The day these guys came, the stadium was full, and when they introduced them, it's like everywhere wanted to blow up. So do you integrate things like music? Because Lagos, sorry, I'm on this dirty December people. I'm just looking for a way to decongest. Do you do like club music? Are those part of your bouquet?
Attractions? Yeah, I mean, yes. So interesting is that, you know, sometime down the line we'll have something that people can gravitate to on a yearly basis as our own signature festival. You know, so, I mean, we did some kind of it sometime when we started in the year, and we always repeat that every year. So all the activities around the December period, you know, involves music, involves cultural plays, involves even discovering the arts and crafts of the people. So those are the kind of things that we incorporate in the activities for the December period. We even have fireworks, you know, that we usher in the new Christmas Day or the New Year period, you know, during this time. So it's always a lot of fun for families, children, you know, adults and everybody. So, yeah.
I love cultural plays. Already it's a motivation for me to want to visit Ikogosi. I want to piggyback on some of the challenges that you talked about earlier on and to ask, as a follow-up, if the concession company is exploring sustainable options, you know, for the management, you know, such that you know, you can also generate revenue and you can encourage nature, sustainability in, you know, energy not just for power but also for transportation within the you know, the place, and also sustainable options also for agriculture. It's an area that is agrarian, you know, also such that agriculture can thrive in that area, and then you can eat what you produce. Are there options that the concession company is exploring in that regard?
Oh yeah, definitely. So
talk to us about
first, with power, we are looking at, you know, at alternative energies like solar to make sure that we can, you know, have some of our energy sources off the grid, and as well share with the immediate community, you know, considering this. When it comes to food, we actually do grow what we eat because, you know, we are surrounded by very lush arable lands in Ekiti State right there. So there's a practice, farm to table, that we've employed for people to eat fresh food whenever they come to the resort. And other sustainability practices like, you know, maybe gathering our water so that we're not really running on tap all the time. So we gather rainwater for other things like, you know, our landscaping activities and all that stuff. So, yeah.
Interesting. I just want to ask straight up, particularly for those who Jeffrey is trying to ship to other parts of the country,
especially
centralized,
right?
you know, from Lagos. So what does it cost? Because all of this conversation at the end of the day is money, right? So I can't just waltz in and say, I'm here, I need a room, right? Yeah. So what should people prepare in terms of money if they want to spend a good time, let's say 2 days for a family of three, for example, or a couple? What should they keep?
I mean, or save,
right?
I mean, for a weekend, for a family of three, you spend between 350 to 450, you know.
And you'll have a good time.
And you still have a good time. I mean, our list room is about 85,000 naira, so that is still a very affordable thing to do.
Fair enough. Yeah. You go to other parts of the world or in Africa.
It's extremely fair.
Right?
I say in Lagos, 680,000 without food.
For 1 room. Sorry,
so what are the mobility options? Can you come by air or it's just by road? Because that's also a factor.
Yeah,
or can you come by sea or water? In the case maybe.
Ekiti is landlocked, so you can't come by water, obviously. Yeah. But by air, you could do from Lagos to Akure, then, you know, do the rest by road, which is about 45 minutes.
Yeah, I think I tried that once, just
you know,
straight road.
Yeah, if depending on how you're driving, or you can just do by road directly, which is about 4 hours from Lagos, and it's still quite safe. I mean, I do road most of the time, and it's still a good journey for us to get to the resort. So yeah.
We hope with these few points of ours, we're able to convince Batch D,
and intending Batch E.
And it's funny in other parts of the country.
It works well for Nigeria. All of the foreign exchange, you bring it back.
Yeah, there's
home,
a lot of FX now.
and then you plow it into the economy through, exploring these tourism options.
You know what is going? What is going?
Like,
I'd said it months ago that the president should not mistake dirty December for improved economy. Our devalued naira has made. It's true. A lot, it's a give and take. Nothing is really black and white sometimes. It's a give and take. Our currency has been devalued, so £1 now is about 2,000 plus. So imagine somebody who lives in London coming in with £1,000. Wow. This December will be extremely dirty. Do you understand?
All right, we must thank you very much, Mr. Dayo Olujeko, the DGM Glossian Hospitality Managers for Ikogosi Warm Spring in Ekiti State. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. And I will just say on my part note, tell your batch D to go see Ikogosi.
They are hearing.
They've heard.
Go see Ikogosi.
Yes, we've driven the message home effectively. But there's more to come on the show on how we can make this December dirty. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Less than 24 hours to Christmas. Things are getting quite intense. Last-minute plans. I imagine some of the stores have jacked up their prices, just to meet demand. I hope you're not if you own a store. But what are some of the things we need to pay attention to so we can have a grand Christmas? I don't want to call it dirty Christmas, right? I want a clean and grand Christmas. We have joined us on the show this morning, Arome Stella Ifeoma, who's the CEO of Laurel Events and President, Association of Event Vendors Nigeria. Yeah. Good morning. Welcome to the Morning Brief.
Good morning, Coyote.
What is Christmas looking like for you? Less than 24 hours. What have you seen? What do you want to see? And basically?
So far, the vibes has been kind of mild because of the condition of things in Nigeria. So let's say on the mainland, let's say in Lagos now, everywhere is kind of like quiet. But on the island, you can see the lights, the vibes. At least at night, you see the place lit up. So they are feeling more on the island than the mainland. People are trying to make the most of it. At least celebrate. You're alive. God has given you the privilege of this season. So yes, we're all doing our best to make the most of the season.
I tell you, and I don't think anybody should feel guilty if you're going low-key. Even Nigerian government went low-key for some celebrations like Independence Day and the rest. If you want to do low-key, absolutely. Yeah. But if you want to at least have a semblance of that Christmas feel, yes, it's less than a day to Christmas, but there's still some things you can put in place. What are some of those things for you? And this is something you do day in, day out. You literally chew these things for breakfast, right?
Yes, as an event planner for Laurel Events. So the first thing to do is take a deep breath. Yes, take a deep breath, take it all in. This is the season for you. This is the season of marrying, rejoicing. You've spent the whole time hustling and bustling of Lagos. So you have to take a deep breath and start by planning strategically. This remaining 24 hours to, or rather a few hours to Christmas, what do I do? Table down your needs, prioritize it, take note of what you can get now at last minute. Now you can't do something so elaborate, but at least you can still get things in the market. Even in your areas, you can see things to make the Christmas at least bubbly to the best of your ability. Get family members involved to spend time together, marry together, and ensure that you make the most of it. Because, wow, it's just one life. You just have to relax and enjoy yourself.
So I'm going to ask this question on behalf of journalists, policemen, nurses, doctors, which other people?
Soldiers.
Soldiers, yes.
Yes.
Look, we are working, but our president is He's in his house. He's relaxing.
He says it's working.
He may be working too, Jeffrey.
He's chilling.
He's having a lot of visitors.
He has people that will do the work for him. So I'm saying that for those people who have to still work and still try to look for a way to have fun, what will be your recommendation? We belong to that group, by the way.
Yes, first of all, I'll say kudos to them all. They are doing the best for us.
We want more than kudos.
And so, aside from that, they need to first of all appreciate themselves for at least the hard work they've put in. Then think about themselves. I always tell myself, at least every month, at the beginning of the month, do something for yourself to say, well, Stella, you've done well. So you too, as a journalist, you too, just think about yourself. What do I like? What makes me relaxed? And do that for yourself, even if it's a few minutes. I'm sure you'll get some break. Once you get off, if it's music you need to play, put on the headset and enjoy yourself, relax. Then get some meals, your favorite meals, order it, because you don't have the time to pleasure of cooking it. Order it and relax, eat your meals, call your friends, call to your spouses, and get their loving feeling over the phone. At least you know that, yes, there are people there for you. Then whenever you have the time, then make the most of it and let them all gather around the table and enjoy yourself with them.
So let's talk about the events. Yeah, let's talk about the events for you this season. It looks like, it depends on who we're talking with. We've had an events planner who says, oh, we're fully booked for the year. It's been a good year. What has it been like for you during the Yuletide events planning for people who still have something to celebrate? Has it also been very lucrative?
Yes. Laurel Events has been in existence for 17 years, so we've actually been in the game for quite a long time. So we have companies that we've liaised with and we work back to back with. So every year at this period, we have Christmas fun fairs, we have parties for various organizations, you understand, oil companies and the rest. So yes, we've been booked. We do rentals as well. And we have our ushering brand, Laurel Events Ushers. So we regularly have 1 or 2 events that we're handling. Even as I'm speaking, I have a delivery this morning, but my team are out there doing their work. And of course, as the CEO, I don't have to be there physically at all my events, but my staffs, my team leads are there. Then events where my clients paid for me to be there physically as an event planner, I'm always there for those that have booked ahead or for some priority clients. So we give them...
The way you're smiling.
We give them more preference.
You're suspect. Why are you smiling? When you call to that priority, the money is a priority, right?
You have some seasoned clients that have been with you over the years, one.
Is it about being long with you or the amount of money? And some clients are
premium, you understand? So yes, when you have some premium clients, you have to give them premium value.
You gotta give a premium smile on the show, I appreciate it.
You understand?
But I want to ask you a very tricky question, right? I don't mean to be a party pooper or spoiler.
Okay.
Must you celebrate Christmas?
Well, it depends on your faith, your denomination. If you're Christian,
even if it's your faith, must you celebrate Christmas?
Must you
definitely.
Are you just tomorrow just say, I'm turning off my phone? Nobody.
No, you must celebrate Christmas. Why? Because you need your body to be happy and alive. Like I say, you have to take care of yourself, and the feeling of Christmas make you feel good. No matter the economic situation, you are the one that can bring out the best of every situation. If you say yes, this season, no matter what, I'm going to explore and make the most out of it. There are so many ways you can explore it. Get your family members together. Get meals that are easy to prepare, that are budget friendly. Prepare them. Play cool music. Light up the place with lovely Christmas lights or any light, or you can just dim your light if you don't have the finances to do that.
The curtain.
Yes, dim the light, maybe put 1 or 2, depending on how your lightnings are in your house.
Let's do a checklist.
You understand?
Forgive me. So, the meals now, jollof rice.
Breakfast, you can do maybe sandwich.
Or bread and akara.
Bread and akara or pap or ghee.
For breakfast.
For breakfast, custard, anything light or tea. Someone like me, I'm always on a diet. I'll just take my Lipton tea. You understand? That's okay for me. Then maybe I can just add 1 or 2. I'll just cheat a little because it's a season.
It's Christmas, right?
You understand?
So
it's Christmas.
What is it that you should not do this season?
No, we're not done with it.
Okay, we're not done with the menu.
We're not done. Just
so breakfast.
We've done breakfast.
Then
that's food.
What's next?
Breakfast has so many other options, but let's go to the main meal, which is the Christmas
Christmas meal.
I would advise from today, which is the 21st, you start prepping. Some people like to marinate their chickens or their beefs for those that can afford it. Marinate them. You understand? The way I grew up, the day before Christmas, we always prepare down everything we need. We chop. Yes, you chop all the veggies, because I love doing fried rice before Christmas. So we chop all the choppables.
All
like
the
I always
carrots,
say.
Where do you live?
You understand?
Green peas.
Okay, I'm based both in Ikeja and Lekija County.
But where would you be cooking?
That's the point.
Where would Jeffrey be visiting?
So yes. You're free to come
We've
over.
left the island to get to December, IJ.
So you do your things before?
Yes, you prepare ahead so that you can have enough time, because someone like me, I would like to pray into it and appreciate God for the Christmas season, you understand? So when everything is already done, in the morning you just mix them all together. You can mix, some people, if they don't have the budget, just rice, white rice and veggies, or pasta and veggies. You don't have to go all about. Just do what you can do within your budget, because we know it's not easy at this season. But if you have the money, please call your family, gather around, merry, enjoy yourself.
Speaking of those who don't have the budget,
Sorry, I didn't want to cut you. I wanted to ask a question.
Okay.
What shouldn't you do in this?
Before we get to what we shouldn't do, Jeffrey, what should we be doing, particularly for the young ones this season who may not have the opportunity to get all those gifts under the Christmas tree, may not even have a Christmas tree? So what are the options for parents, to still make the season worthwhile for the children?
Okay, what I would say is this: inculcate the value of Christmas. Look for movies about what Christmas entails, the birth of Jesus. Play it for them. Some people actually don't know. They've not watched it in a long time. So get the movie, play it. Let the whole environment be serenading with Christmas music, so that they can have the feel. You don't need to have all the money. At least you have a phone, or you have some form of technology, radio or TV. Just play music and let them have the feel. Then let them know the meaning of Christmas. Educate them that this is the reason why we're celebrating this season. Play some Christmas movies for them, the birth of Jesus or any other Christmas foreign movies or Nigerian movies for them, and let them enjoy and have the feel of what you call Christmas.
There's one now, is it on Prime or Netflix? I watched it, it was quite cool. So the don'ts.
The don'ts.
The don'ts is, please don't be sad. Life is all about being happy. The happier you are, the longer you live. Yes, I understand that things are quite hard, but you have the God factor. Just pray and believe in Him. And I believe that your Christmas will be beautiful. Anything can happen. So just have faith in God and you enjoy your Christmas.
Also, should you keep like a cooler of meat? Or should you give everything
Someone
out?
like me, even when I'm prepping for the house, as I'm prepping, I'm actually tasting. I'm not eating, I'm just tasting.
That's why I don't eat.
I would say, yes, if you can afford it, have a cooler of meat that's properly seasoned, so that you're having it to be like, this is indeed Christmas. You understand? Have whatever that makes you happy, and do it all in moderation.
No, I mean, should you save for future? That's what mothers do. There's the proper
No, don't save for future. Eat as much as you can eat and marry. That's the purpose.
And then give out as
and
much
share, please share. We do that every time in my home for Christmas. Aside from sharing to our neighbors, we share to other people that we have, a community. I mean, as far as foundation, we have things that you've not used. You can gather them, or things that you've used that are still in good condition, you can gather them and give it to orphanage homes or anybody that you know may need it. You may even be that your family member that you know they don't have, but you have to give them. Please think about sharing to them, and they'll be grateful, and they'll definitely pray for you.
Jeffrey Bukola, I will pray for you guys. All right, you know what I want for Christmas, right?
Mine is just these dirty December people. That's
put it in prayers.
I'm just trying to
make the most of it.
But we have to thank you so much. I am glad you raised the point that try as much as possible to be joyful.
Yes.
Christ is a reason for the season, and you can draw a lot of strength from his life and what he continues to do. But we have to thank you so much. CEO, Laurel Events, Arume Stella Ifama, also President, Association of Event Vendors Nigeria. I hear that you people are the ones cashing out during the season. But thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Okay. So tomorrow is another day. Join us on our Christmas special. It's just going to be we having fun right here on set on the morning brief. It's our first Christmas on this show. This show started January the 1st.
2024.
2024. So this is going to be our very first Christmas. So have fun with us. Whatever we have on offer, you may not know, you could have just anything you want to have. I'm Jeffrey Uzama. Bye-bye.
You may want to put on your dancing shoes, but don't forget to share the joy of Christmas alone. Also share the jollof. We're back tomorrow. I am Bukola Koka.
And I'm Kayode Okikiolu. Sunrise Daily is next. Stay with us right here on Channels Television.